What's going on, everyone? Elite Sports back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be doing a interesting video. I'm going to be talking about one draft scenario that the New York Giants can absolutely not one draft scenario that is terrific, and it's impossible to pass up on, in my opinion. And if this is a potential scenario for the New York Giants, it would be awesome. So let's get right into it. Starting off with the fifth pick, if Kayvon Thibodeaux falls to number 5, the Giants select him there. So the edge out of Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeaux, we know what he can do. We know how good he is. He's obviously an unbelievable game-changing edge rusher that would hopefully step in and, become one of the top edge rushers in the NFL. That's what you hope in getting with him. The Giants already spoke with him. He talked about, what his interview with the Giants went like. He was joking about it. He was laughing. He found it interesting. The media found it interesting. The fans, it was interesting. And he seems really connected, tied in, interested in joining the Giants. So that would obviously be awesome. At number 5, if you can land a guy in Kayvon Thibodeaux, and he would go play alongside Azeez Ojulari, and I think Dominic Martindale would really be able to do a lot, with that. I think he'd be able to, make his defense that much better. So I really, really would like Kayvon Thibodeaux. If he were to fall, I don't think the Giants can pass up on him. I think they just got to go out and take him. He's too good to pass up on. So at 5, the Giants select Kayvon Thibodeaux. And then with the number 7 pick, the Giants make a trade back with the Saints. So they move back to 18. That's pretty far, but the Giants are getting significant draft capital. They're getting the 18th pick, the 49th pick, which is in the second round, mid-second round, as well as a first in 2023. So that right there is a big package to move back 11 spots in a draft class where someone you take at 7 could very well be there at pick number 18, and then the Giants would have to give up the 7th overall pick 180 in this year's draft, which is in the 5th round, and a 4th in 2023. So that would be a tremendous trade for the Giants. It worked on the mock draft trades. The Saints accepted it. The Giants accepted it. So that trade is that. Giants get a future first, move back 11 spots. Saints probably come up and get a quarterback. And then with that pick, number 18 overall, the New York Giants select Nakobe, the linebacker out of Georgia. A lot of people, I made a video on whether or not the Giants need to take an offensive lineman in the first round. I don't think it is needed. And frankly, I don't think they need to. I think if Ike Mekwonu and Evan Neal aren't there at 5, which is very possible and at this point looking likely, I actually wouldn't take one unless you trade back and get a guy like a Tyler Linderbaum or Charles Cross. But at 5 or 7, I wouldn't take an offensive lineman if the top 2 tackles are off the board. The one concern with Cross is that we don't know if he could play the right tackle position because he's a left tackle. So that would be interesting. But if you don't take one in the first, with the first 2 picks, you absolutely need to take one. You need to take one in the mid rounds, in the second round, and that's what we're going to get into after. But Nakobe, he's another stud. He's a star. He could be one of the better he's the top 2 linebacker in the class, could be the best. I think he's the best. I think he's better than Devin Lloyd. And to just think what Dominic Martindale would be able to do with this type of defense, where you have Azeez Ojulari, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Nakobe, it's scary. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence. It would be a really good defense. So that's definitely an option. So that's with that 18 pick, and then with 36, they draft the guard out of Boston College, and that's Zion Johnson. Like we talked about, if they don't take an offensive lineman with the first 2 picks, the third pick has to be at 36 overall. And Zion Johnson is a really good guard. He's a guy who can, step in on day one and absolutely become a good starter. A lot of people have him moving up draft boards into the back end of the first round. I could see it. I understand why. Zion Johnson's no joke. He could play the left guard spot. And, in doing that, you'd have your left side of the offensive line complete. You potentially sign a center or a right guard or a right tackle in free agency, and then you go along and you're able to get Zion Johnson and with Andrew Thomas and start building that line. So Zion Johnson, if he makes it to 36, he would be a terrific pick for the Giants. And then at 49, with that Saints pick that they got in the trade, Skyy Moore. He is moving way up in, on draft boards. He's the wide receiver out of Western Michigan. A lot of people say, the Giants, they don't need a wide receiver, but this guy's really good. And, if you can pair him up with Galladay and Tony, maybe it allows you to get rid of Slayton, save some money, and potentially get something, 5th round pick, 4th round pick. If Shepard's cut, it gives you an extra wide receiver. And with Shepard being injured, he could step in and definitely be good. Just to take a look at some of his stats from the 2021 season, he was incredible. He had 8 yards short of 1,300 yards. He had 10 touchdowns, 95 receptions. So he was definitely very, very good. There's no question about it. And he's a guy who's speedy, and he really impressed at the combine. And he's a guy who a lot of people are impressed with. The Jaguars, I know we're really looking into him based off reports. They pick early. They have the first pick in the 2nd round, so that could be a target there for them. But we'll see. I think Skyy Moore is really good, and if the Giants can land him at the 49th pick, that's definitely a very good and exciting pick. He's speedy, he's got good hands, and he would definitely fit the Kafka and Dable scheme. So I would like that pick there. At 49, you get another wide receiver in Skyy Moore. At 67 overall, the Giants get another offensive lineman, Kellen Dyche, the tackle out of Arizona State. I really like Kellen Dyche, and even before he ran the fastest 40 out of all the offensive linemen at the combine, he ran a 4.89, which is very good. He was the only offensive lineman to finish with a 40 time of under 4.9 seconds. He's 6'7", he weighs 301 pounds. It's a big guy. And he had a good season, a really good season out of Arizona State. He's got 32-inch arms, 9-inch hands. He's a big guy. His prospect grade is 5.95. He's a guy who, we could definitely see him, move up draft boards. Maybe sneaks into the 2nd round. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe the Giants, would get him with the 49th pick if they were to take this scenario, trade with the Saints. But Kellen Dyche is definitely a good target for the Giants. He could play right tackle, so that helps out. Obviously, he could potentially. He's usually with offensive linemen at this point in drafts, you could be getting projects. I don't really view him as a project. He very well could go in the 2nd round. An early 3rd round pick to me, because getting to the early 3rd round means he falls back 5 or 10 spots. So I don't think he's a project. I think he could step in. Yeah, you're gonna have some your odd struggles, and with the rookies you're always gonna get that. But I would really like this pick here. You get Zion Johnson, then you get Kellen Dyche, and you kind of double up on the offensive line with 2 of the last 3 picks. And filling the gap that you didn't fill in the first round, although you get 2, decision makers and playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. At 81 overall, the Giants would get Jeremy Ruckert, the tight end out of Ohio State. The Giants need a tight end. There's no question about it. Obviously they cut Kyle Rudolph. They could very well cut Caden Smith. We don't know the situation with Evan Ingram, although there is interest in the Giants re-signing him as a slot receiver. That doesn't make sense. I don't think they will re-sign him. He would leave a huge gap at the tight end spot, and I think the Giants to get Jeremy Ruckert with a ton of versatility. He can do so much. Ohio State's a good school, and you'd be getting a really good player here. You take a look at some of his stats from this past year: 26 receptions, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he's definitely good. He's probably the second or third best tight end in the class. He's 6'5", 252. He's big, and he's a guy I think would really be good for the Giants. You look at Kafka's offense. In the offense they ran in Kansas City, they were big with the tight end, of course, Travis Kelce. The Giants would need to get a decent tight end, someone who could, be used, and I think Jeremy Ruckert's a really, really nice player. So it's going to be interesting. So it should be exciting, but I think Jeremy Ruckert would be a really, really nice addition to the Giants, and at 81, that's right where his range is. I would say the 75 to 90 range is where he's going to go. So if the Giants can land him at 81, I think they're getting a really nice tight end in Ohio State's Jeremy Ruckert. At 110, the Giants get Coby Bryant, the cornerback out of Cincinnati. They're going to need a cornerback. They're probably going to trade Bradbury. That would give you an extra 3rd round pick. Keep that in mind. 3rd or 4th round pick. So that would obviously be good. But Coby Bryant, he played alongside Ahmad Sauce Gardner. He was he was a really good player. He had 3 interceptions. He had a pick 6. He had 44 total tackles. He was good, with Cincinnati. They had a really good secondary with him and, of course, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, who could be, could go as the best cornerback in the class. Him and Derek Stingley Jr., grinding that out. A lot of people argue one, a lot of people argue the other, but Coby Bryant played on the other side of Ahmad Gardner. He was, overshadowed a lot like a guy like Quincy Roche last year. For those of you who watch my channel, I went live with the Entertainment Talking Sports last year before the draft, and we talked about Quincy Roche. I talked about him a ton. I made separate videos on him. I really liked him, but I talked about how he was overshadowed there because the edge rusher class at Miami. You had Greg Rousseau, you had Jalen Phillips. Those were 2 of the top 3 or 5 edge rushers in the class. So he was overshadowed, and it's the same. You could say the same here for Coby Bryant. He's a guy who, he came from playing with, on the other side of the best corner in the class. So, he possibly was overshadowed. I really like Coby Bryant, and, of course, cutting James Bradbury, cornerback would be, somewhat of a need, especially considering the way that the Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens defense has been set up. And it's been set up around the secondary. So the Giants are going to, I think, still prioritize the defense as much as the offensive line's an issue. And I think they could take Cal Hamilton, they could take Stingley Jr., they could take Ahmad Sauce Gardner early with one of the first 2 picks. Don't rule that out. But Coby Bryant would definitely be a nice pick at 110 overall. No question about it. 2 more picks to go. At 146, the Giants go with another offensive lineman, Luke Fortner, out of Kentucky. Fortner, he's an interior offensive lineman, so he could play center, he could play the guard spot. He'd probably be somewhat of a project. He's ranked as a top 50 offensive lineman in the class, which isn't great, but at the end of the day, at pick 146, you can't expect too much. So, if you get Luke Fortner, he could be a guy who, he'd be a guy who can come in and, hopefully play if you need him to, and, not be a guy like Billy Price who just, destroys the team and everything. You'd be getting a project likely at this point, especially on the offensive line, but I think it's something the Giants need to do. They need to get projects, and you take a look at the Bills and, some of the value they've got over time, especially on that offensive line. They didn't have a first-round offensive lineman in the starting lineup. They had, guys who came in late in the drafts. They got some serious value later on, and, that really helped out. So if you can get Luke Fortner, at 146, you get a guy who can, possibly come in when you need him to and play some good snaps. And then finally at pick 172, the Giants select Matt Ariza, the punter out of San Diego State. The Giants need a punter. Riley Dixon's going to be cut. Hopefully it's, in the next couple days. This week we're going to get a lot of info on the cuts and stuff, so we're going to have you covered on that. But Giants are going to have to draft one. You could get either the Georgia punter or this guy right here, Matt Ariza. Either one of them, they're both good. Ariza, as a punter is definitely good. He was a kicker and a punter. He wasn't great as a kicker. He was only 64% in 2021, but he was 85% in 2019, 72% in 2020. So he took a step back there, but perfect in terms of extra points last year, 45 for 45. But his punting is where you'd really get the full version of him. So that's what you'd be looking at from a guy like him. He'd come in and hopefully he'd be a pretty good punter. He punted the ball 79 times for an average of 51.2 per punt. So that's obviously good. He had a long of 86 yards a punt. Riley Dixon would need 3 punts to get to 86 yards. So you'd obviously be getting a much better punter than Riley Dixon. You'd be saving $3 million and then paying this guy $800,000. So that's a decision that has to be made. It'll be made. I don't know if the Giants go with a punter in the draft. I think they should, though, because it's cheaper. And, we'll see what they do. But Matt Ariza at 172. But guys, that's all I got in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down below in the comment section your thoughts on this draft class that this draft scenario that I think the Giants can absolutely not pass up on. I think if this is sitting in front of you, you got to take it. You're getting top edge rusher, top linebacker, very good guard, good tackle, great receiver, a punter, a good corner, a tight end who's going to come in day one and play. You get a future first. You can't go wrong with this draft class, and that's just my opinion. You guys let me know your thoughts on it. Would you take this draft class, or would you not? I think most Giants fans would, but some may think that no, because we got to go with a first-round offensive lineman, which I think if Ike Ekwonu or Neal is there, you absolutely take them with pick number 5. But as big as the issues on the offensive line is, you can't waste a pick and kind of force a pick, and I think that's something that Joe Schoen has really preached, and I don't think he will. But I still understand the needs on that offensive line, and I think the Giants, if they don't go with it in the first 2 picks, they take this type of scenario from rounds 2 and on. They get a guy like Zion Johnson, Kellen Dyche, Luke Fortner, and they really start to build that offensive line. You guys let me know, like I said, though, what you guys think about this class. Would you take it? Would you not? What would you change? I would take it perfectly the way it is. You guys let me know. And as always, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. We'll see you guys on the next video. Let's go Giants.